Matt, thank you so much for being on our show.
It's my pleasure to be on your show. It's fantastic.
I'm so grateful. So let's just share with the viewers how we met and what the state of my brand was when we met.
Okay.
And why you told me that branding is so important, so that when we share with our viewers the process of branding and what you really do and what you're good at, they can understand for themselves why branding is so important.
Sure. My gosh, I think, well, how do we do that at first? I was at the Spiritus Holistic Energy Center in Las Vegas. And what was it at I can't remember, it was a drumming circle, I think. And we were talking about, we were doing a workshop on either ancestors, was it ancestors? It was a modern shamanic practice in any case, which just for the record is a great, in addition to, you know, any sort of spirituality or enlightenment that you follow, you know, it's a great, it's really kind of neat. So so we were there and we met, and actually the first time I met Tembi was you were at an event at the center. We were both at the same event, and you sang a spirit song.
Oh yeah. It was like the open house, and we were yeah.
You got up, not knowing anybody, and you just did this thing, and you drummed and you sang this traditional Zulu song.
Yeah.
I think that was passed down to you.
Yeah.
And I just thought, who is this lady? Wow.
I didn't even know that I could sing. Well, I knew that I could sing. I sing in the shower, but whatever.
No, it was great, and it was great. I just thought that was deep. That was some deep stuff, and it was good too. It was neat. So so then at one point I walked up to you. I was like, "Hi, I just really loved your music. I just loved what you did. It was really good. It was so deep and so nice, and I just thought it was the best." So so then I get to know you a little bit, and I thought, okay, well, what is it that you do, right? And you're telling me. And I looked at your current website. I looked at the LinkedIn profile you had. I looked at all this stuff, and I just thought, well, this could be better. You know,
that was
and
nice.
It was a nice way of putting it. Yeah, it was nice. I thought it could be better. It could be a little. It could be more succinct. Maybe a pleasing color palette. You know, there were just some things about it that just visually weren't pulled together. Right? They were coming from different angles. So, of course, what that meant is. In my mind, I immediately thought, I wonder what she's struggling with the business, if there's a struggle. And if there's not, then what kind of miracle work are you doing? Because I was looking at that going, I wonder how you're able to get and retain the kind of clients that you want with a state that's largely put together from so many different places. There was very little cohesion and all this stuff. I'm trying to be nice, you know.
I don't know, but I think this is important because we're going to go into. I mean, the next video is we're going to go into entrepreneurship, career, and all of that.
Oh, that's right.
But you know, I just wanted to introduce you into this interview series. But a lot of us, when we start businesses, or I knew nothing about branding. Look, I came from the Wall Street. Space, finance, what the hell do I know about branding? Right. So it was important to meet somebody who was clear on branding and what branding meant. Right. And was nice enough to tell me, sweetheart, so it's
Yeah, no, it was it's interesting because I come from advertising. Where we work with brands all the time, and sometimes, and maybe we'll talk about that in another video, but you know, sometimes in the world that I come from, we don't always have the ability to adjust, play with, or change those brand parameters, and we have to build things that fit into a very small box. And even with, you know, huge companies, huge corporations from all across the world, they make so many rules, they box themselves in. And they don't understand how to reach the right customers that they want. They don't understand that their machine is so big. Even if it's a small company, they have so many procedures in place and so many levels to how you get to the customer touch points that they're not understanding that their vision for the company and what they're actually marketing are not in alignment. And branding is what answers that question.
Yeah, I mean, for somebody, okay, so just share a little bit about yourself and your journey, because you didn't, when we first started working together, you were not a brand strategist.
No, that's right, I wasn't.
Like, I was like, sweetheart, you do branding. That's what you're good at. Right. And so share your journey. Sure. Music, we want to know about, I love music, especially symphony and orchestra, so share that.
Oh gosh, well, I grew up in a very small town in the Midwest. There was not a lot to do there, and I literally grew up in a cornfield. So It was very culturally void. So I wanted things to do that were a little more interesting than just what the run-of-the-mill activities were for a lot of the people in that community. And so I took to music very, very fast, I think. And as a young person, learning to play, I wanted to play the trumpet really badly. And I loved the sound of brass. I just loved it. It was loud, it was pretty, you know. It could be beautiful and soft. It could be the loudest instrument in the whole marching band. It was great. It was the coolest thing. And I'm kind of, you know, I realized pretty young that I had a very kind of outgoing, a little type A kind of personality to a certain extent. And I'm like, the trumpet's perfect. It's right there with the snare drum, you know, and it'll stick out no matter what, you know. So anyway, my parents were very gracious in allowing me to drive. When I was old enough to drive, I would drive myself to go get lessons. And I would drive myself to different cities, about an hour away each, to go study with classically trained players who were in the Detroit Symphony, who were playing in Flint. And they mentored me not just with the trumpet, of course, because that music lessons are very personal. Yeah. So you learn to do things at an early age that some people get those activities through sport, or those learnings through sports. I was also swimming a lot. I like to swim, but that really wasn't what gave me the foundation to do what I'm doing today. Music really did that, because I learned to do, on the average, about 11 things at the same time, in a context, without practicing, without any lead up, and to make it perfect the first time. When it comes out the channel, it's done, right? So that was a really big challenge, and it takes years and years and years to get that flow. You have to rewire your neural nets, right? So I learned to play trumpet. I loved classical music. I loved jazz. I learned from some of the most amazing players in the whole world, and oddly enough, some of them lived right nearby. There was a lot of great players that I was able to study with, and they played with bands like Harry Connick and Count Basie Orchestra and Detroit Symphony and the Flint Symphony. So I was very fortunate. I had a lot of chops as a young person. I had a lot of chops. I went to college and just ruled.
So tell us about college. I know in college you did music and business.
I did, and this is what's so fascinating. When I started college, I went to a very conservative, very large Midwestern football school, and I know.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I totally did. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, because I thought I had to. I thought that's what I had to do. I wanted to be a music teacher because that's what I thought the only option was for me, because I liked music and I needed to have a job, you know. So what happened was, I went there and I said, I want to add a business degree. I want to add a business major, not a minor. I want to add a major, and I want to maybe even do a double degree, right? Yeah. My academic advisors told me I was stupid. They told me that I was full of myself. I was arrogant. I was misinformed. That there's no way business and music tie together. There's no way fine arts or creative arts and business tie together. Yeah. And I thought, you know what? That's bull. That's absolutely bull. So I transferred schools. I ended up going to a very small fine arts college in upstate New York, very hippie, you know.
I love the hippies!
Yeah, very hippie. We like to protest about just about everything up there. So, and I was very overwhelmed because all of a sudden there's people that are, they have tattoos all over the place. They have purple hair. You know, there's fairies everywhere, literally. Literally, people that would dress like fairies. No, and then there's everyone, like there's tons of openly gay people, and there's murals everywhere, and people are body painting in the quad. You know, it's just like, it was a totally different environment.
What kind of place?
Yeah, it was wonderful. I loved, and I just thought, oh, I can't be seen here, because then someone might actually see me. But here I am every day, playing in jazz bands and playing in the orchestra, and then eventually, by the time I was done at that university, I produced 2 full-length jazz albums.
Oh, honey.
I had a music business teacher say, if you want to be a producer, just go do it. And I went, well, I don't really know what that means, but I'll ask for some help, right? Yeah. So I reached out to some alumni, I reached out to some people in the record industry, and they really helped me. So I produced 2 albums right away.
How old were you?
22.
You know you're a genius, right?
No.
It's like a fish in water. It never knows that.
Yeah, I was 22, and so after that, I really wanted to keep going. So I figured, you know what? If I spend 3 extra semesters, I'll get a second bachelor's degree. Yeah. I had so many credits. I took so many credits. So I was the first person and the only one to matriculate with those 2 degrees. So I got a BA and a BS. It was way too much work. And then
at 22.
At 22, yeah. And then after that, I got a full fellowship to go to the University of Nevada here in Las Vegas, and that and where I got my master's in music theory and composition. I had to do a competency in Western classical music as well as in jazz theory, and that was graduate level, right? And then also teach. So I was teaching and doing research, and I produced two more albums when I was there.
So you got 4 albums.
That's right.
2 degrees in business and art,
right.
like music, right? So it's left and right brain. I always say to men, it's so important to have the balance between the left and the right brain. Men, if you're watching this, seriously, it's like it makes you a genius.
But you know what it was for me when I was a kid? I would take these tests. My mother's a teacher. She's an educator by trade, and she does reading and literacy, coming from a speech pathology background. So she's one of the only people in the country at the time, you know, and this is in the 90s and early 2000s, that was studying cognition in relation to literacy, you know, and how we process language. And she's working with people from mostly a lot of immigrant families with kids that need to learn English, right? So they put them in special programs now to do that. But what's interesting is she would give me these tests every week because she just couldn't figure out why I was always going 50-50. I would test 50-50. I'd even try to throw the test, you know, and see if I could somehow get more left or right brain. I never could. And I remember struggling through school thinking like, I'm stupid. No, I wasn't stupid. Yeah. I was really smart. I just needed to figure out that sometimes I'm this way. Sometimes I think of certain things in this aspect and sometimes I don't. And as you know, as I progressed, I realized that's a really big strength.
Yeah.
Because I can look at music, for example, which eventually I ended up doing orchestration work professionally. I used to work with big artists on their shows, doing copy work, you know, playing trumpet professionally. Did that, and teaching, and you know, and doing papers in theoretical musical concept, you know, things like that. And it was really interesting because I could look at something very objectively from 2 places at once. I can do it only left or only right, and I've kind of trained myself to be able to know how to look at things from 3 angles.
I think that's such a powerful skill, and especially as you move up higher in an organization or you are building a bigger business, it is so important to look at the creative side and be able to see how it's going to fit business-wise.
Oh yeah.
So that's when I started working with you, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm a branding strategist. I was like, oh my God, and he knows how to do business too. Great. So tell us about how you went from UNLV, being a professor at UNLV, and then going into advertising, because that's really, I think, where...
Well, this is what's interesting. Yeah, so as I'm going through school in the summers and also full-time during the semester sometimes, my jobs were always working at amphitheaters, working at concert venues. I was always booking acts, like working with them, and not anybody, or like legacy groups. Yeah. Like for the first concert that I ever booked was Journey and Styx touring together.
I didn't know who they are.
They're huge rock groups. They're huge from the 80s. And Journey's had this huge recurrence. They're absolutely huge. They're coming to they're touring still. Oh. They got a new lead singer. They're old. Are
baby boomers?
No, not well. Actually, they are probably. They're old. I don't want to get myself in too much trouble here.
We love all age groups, so it's not that big of a deal.
No, they're great. Journey's great. They're by far my favorite rock band ever. You know, and I got to book them, and I thought that was just a joy. You know, but having done all of that early on, moving up into working at you know, in big venues in Las Vegas, what had happened was I was teaching at the university. I had an opportunity to go work for the Wynn, and they hired me to do work as a music supervisor, which is more of a they have a music supervisor on most major motion pictures, for example. They handle a lot of licensing. They oversee the production of customized music or the score. They work with the director. They liaise between the composer, the director, the producers. They're really an administrative kind of executive oversight role to make sure that the studio gets what they want. They want, basically, right? So they hired me to be a music supervisor on a team of 3 people, and what had ended up happening was that turned into more of a generalized production kind of role, right? Okay. And there was a very specialized show. I had never worked in that capacity with that type of entertainment before. It was really visceral. It was highly technologically involved. Really challenging for everybody, and I was in a room full of industry veterans, Hollywood directors, the biggest DJs that would come through and actually consult with us on the show.
Like Cascade and
yeah,
really,
absolutely. No, we had David Guetta at one point in there.
Ooh,
yeah, it was fun. You know, it was really fun, and I think they hired on a staff for about 9 months. They had about 40 dancers just to rehearse. It's a huge production.
Absolutely. Okay, so tell me how you went from the Win to advertising.
I'm
so curious.
I know, this is interesting. So I moved down to San Diego for a while to take a break, right? Yeah. I ended up working for Tony Robbins for a hot second. Yeah. Like, very interesting experience.
But I'm sure you learned a lot.
I did. I learned a lot from there, and from there, I got an offer to go up to an advertising agency in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. They looked at the entertainment background, and they looked at their client base, and they said there's no correlation here at all. But the recruiter said, this is a guy that can speak creative and speak business at the same time. We really need him. And I thought, oh, I don't know if I can do that.
Oh, so modest.
Yeah, so I went up to San Francisco and worked for this ad agency that was at the time it was the largest in the city by number, really huge. And it was very difficult at first. I didn't know any of the words, I didn't know any of the terms. I didn't know what any of this stuff meant, but what I knew was that there's a lot of BS everywhere. I could sense it, I could smell it. I'm like, I've worked in entertainment, I've worked in live shows, I've taught. It's like I've either done it myself or been a part of it or been on the receiving end of it. So I'm a master at sniffing that out, right? And inconsistencies, process problems, I can see everything from start to finish before I start a project, So they had me in a role that was it was overseeing 7-figure accounts for Fortune 50 clients. Yeah. Really important role, right? And a lot of responsibility, working with an enormous team of people. On a daily basis, I was touching 60 people or more. And that's just responsible for what's going on, the work that they're doing, not to mention my own, right?
So how old were you this time?
At that point, I think I was 25, 26.
Dude, okay.
Yeah, and then, I ended up moving from the different roles inside of the agency there, moving from more of a production role, where I'm making a lot of commercials, like we're doing videos, we're doing. At that point, we were really excited about being digital. It's like, Was
that like the first time YouTube started coming out?
No, well, YouTube has been around for a while, right? But like the agency was really excited because now they were digital. It was like, we're digital. Are you doing digital? Because we're doing digital. I mean, it was just it was so asinine. It was just so asinine, and I ended up learning a lot about everything what not to do. It was a miserable work environment. The creative we were producing was absolutely horrible. I mean, it wasn't great. It didn't perform. It didn't work. The clients got mad because it wasn't working. Yeah. The problems stemmed from the clients not understanding what they wanted. Yeah. To then they're obviously not going to ask for what they need because they don't know what they need or that they want. Yeah. They just want something to work, and we don't know what we're doing because we don't understand digital. It's such an ignorant thing to say. Yeah. And so here's one of the biggest ad agencies out there, part of a huge conglomerate international parent company which owns dozens of these agencies, right? And they didn't understand how to make their clients happy, and the clients were dumping them left and right. Yeah. And I saw that transition happening, and I also saw something happen where the companies that were dumping the agencies were poaching some of the marketing teams, some of the marketing brains from the agency and internalizing them, but not taking the rest of the tactics. So I found through doing some freelance work on the side, I ended up working with a couple of people that I started a company with to actually end up to take up the slack, right? So we started plugging into all these other ad agencies that were getting dumped by their clients as their production house, and also plugging into those same clients as their strategy house. So we had a very interesting, which essentially makes us an ad agency, except we wanted to stay away from that label. We wanted
the ad agency.
Right. Ad agency. Yeah, because at the time it was equated to being really slow, really unaware, detached from what your audience wants, right? And then we called ourselves a studio.
Nice. So let me get from there to your own company to moving back to Vegas. That's then learning from all of the mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
And the good stuff. Yeah. And now taking it and actually having your own branding agency that you helped me launch my brand. Oh my God, I could not be more grateful.
Well, this is weird. I don't know how off the wall can we get here? What's the...
Yeah, we can get off the wall, but not cussing.
No cussing. Oh, no, I don't want to cuss. No. All right, put it this way. So I came to Vegas. I came back. It's funny. When I left the first time, when I was leaving, I went to San Diego. I was so burned out from working in the hotels, working on these big shows with these big artists, and it was so much responsibility. And that's not what got to me. It was the constant 18-hour days, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. and still being treated like an intern. That really killed me, you know. And I thought, no way, I can't do this anymore.
You had some self-respect, which a lot of us as millennials, it takes us till we get to 40 before we have self-respect.
I didn't know that was self-respect. I didn't know that doing that was being respectful to myself. I didn't recognize that at the time. I just knew, like, so for me, my journey, one of the reasons I've been back here again, has become largely and in part because of that too. So it's been interesting. I moved down there. I was really burnt out. I'm like, I'm never coming back to Vegas, ever. I hate it. No, it's not happening. I'm never coming back.
Yeah.
And then, you know, a few years later, I came back with a vengeance, and I realized, and aside from the opportunities in the community here, which is what I really like, the biggest thing was I sat in a workshop, and we're talking about. This is a really deep workshop. It's a 2-day workshop, 2 9-hour days, okay, of this thing, doing deep spiritual, internal work on ourselves, right? And it's not one of these things that's a one and done. This is an ongoing, you know, learning.
Correct.
And this is this particular experience was talking all about what is negative self-talk, self-sabotage. What's happening on the spiritual level? Yeah. So, you know, for example, when we have a piece of self-sabotage coming up, there's an energy behind it. Yeah. You know, and it's not to say that, it's not to scare anybody. It's just that we live in a world where we live and breathe and interact with raw creative energy.
Yeah.
And that's just the world we live in.
Yeah.
So, you know, depending on which denomination you're from, I think we can all agree that no matter if you're Christian or Islamic or Buddhist or Taoist or whatever, you know, you understand that the universal truth for you being in this life is that you should be happy, abundant,
correct,
free of anguish and these things. You're not supposed to suffer. Right.
But I think suffering is so ingrained in our psyche.
Oh, it is.
That the more we suffer, the more oh my God.
Right.
We feel like it's normal. I'm like, hell to the no, that's not normal.
Yeah. So this workshop takes what Tony Robbins does essentially and goes in about 12 layers below it. It goes way down to what's actually happening on the soul level, so that we can understand how to get that block out, to get the energy out, to bring abundance into our lives. Yeah. Bring peace back in. It's very healing. Yeah. Now, having said that, I'm doing this work, and without going into more specifics, the minute, and I mean the minute that I decided that I needed to make a change, and when I say make a change, I was in a failing relationship. I was I was wildly depressed. Yeah. Wildly depressed. I was in a very abusive business partnership. And we did that to each other, and that was the hardest pill to swallow, is that we did that to each other. I was not living and behaving the way that, if I saw myself as a 5-year-old or an 8-year-old with big dreams, I would have been really mad at what I saw. So I had to make some big changes, and I wasn't healthy either, you know, and that's a continuing journey to get to allow myself to be the healthiest version of myself I can be. So I look at this, the minute I have a realization, my phone starts going crazy. And it's ridiculous. It's just nuts. The business is going nuts. It's blowing up. And I'm like, wow. And not in a good way. And so I made the decision on the way back, and I drove from Vegas. I drove down to Vegas from San Francisco in the middle of the night to make the workshop, because I thought I really need to be there. I drove on the way back to make it back to work on Monday morning. And when I got there, I resigned.
Good.
And I left everything behind. I resigned. I left everything. I signed everything over. I was out. Yeah. You know, and the reason I did that was because I needed to make a life shift. I needed to make a big change, and I wasn't bringing my own authenticity into the world. I wasn't helping other people do it. And the more I resisted that, which is one of my callings in this life, the harder life got.
Sweetie, I wish you could just tell this to the truth. Like, I think as human beings, live such a lie. Yeah. And we don't even know when we're lying anymore, because we have conditioned ourselves to think that pain and misery and lack and struggle is real, and it's not real.
It's not real.
Right?
It's not. It's not real.
But for you to just say, enough, I'm out.
Yeah.
It takes it's not even courage. That is like soul courage.
Oh, it was.
Not like mental
I didn't
courage,
know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I was going to survive. I didn't care.
Yeah.
I had to trust.
I mean, you had a business that you built, and you just
it was very successful.
Yeah.
And I just said, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, and that's it.
Well, I'm so happy that you came back to Vegas because, oh my God, now I have you as my BFF.
Well, and this
my bestie.
Yeah, I know, right? And this
okay,
is
so tell us about your agency. We need to know about your agency.
Okay, so the agency. So this was interesting. So I instantly knew that I needed to open a new entity because I was starving. I didn't know what to do, but I'm like, I have to get something going.
Yeah.
Right? This has to happen. And I was starving for it. And so I realized through your program, actually, that through speaking with you and just having a lot of self-introspection, that what I needed to do was open a business that I could actually help other people do what they need to be doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's in my own way, right? And that's not the same way as others. Like we need so much.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm good at, and I thought, oh, I'm not qualified to do branding. I've never really done branding work before. Then I stopped. I'm kicking myself in the butt, going, I'm like, hold the phone. I'm like, just wait a second. I've literally been doing nothing but branding work for the better part of 10 years,
yeah.
And I never called it that because I was afraid to embrace that.
I know. And when I saw your videos and I saw your portfolio, I was like, dude, you do branding. And you're like, no, I don't do branding. I just do videos. I'm like, no, you don't understand. You do branding.
Right. And this is what's so funny is, so for 10 years, I've been building very specific tactical things, videos, banner ads, yuck. But we don't use banner ads. Don't build them. We'll get on that later. But building very tactical things, entire websites,
yeah.
social campaigns, even individual people. I've done people before.
Yeah, and like music bands, and you've
Exactly.
worked with Fortune 500 companies.
And Fortune 50, a couple of Fortune 50.
Yeah, so yeah. I was looking at the work and I was like, what? What do you mean you don't do branding? You do branding.
Well, so this is what's interesting is I sat there and I thought, well, how can I do this for other people? I'm like, I know how to build everything. I know how to talk with everybody. I can close my eyes and snap my fingers and give you exactly what you need. And I wouldn't think twice about it. Yeah. And then I realized, wait, not everybody can do that, can they?
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't know that was something worth anything. And that was part of my own self-discovery process here is that's something that I'm very good at doing.
So talk to me about, okay, this is sort of the last question and we'll close off and then we'll go into our...
I didn't really answer the other one.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We'll answer it in the other
Sure,
videos.
yeah.
So talk to me about the self-discovery because I think sometimes as millennials when we are lost, like either you just graduated college and like I graduated college, I knew that I wanted to go work in Wall Street. That was my thing. But when like I recognized that Wall Street was not really my thing anymore, I was lost for like a few, I was like, I had to go and meditate for 10 days and go, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. So talk through that self-discovery so you can encourage the viewers and other people who are going through that self-discovery, even whether they, you know, baby boomers transitioning.
Yeah.
Everybody has to go through that. What
I want to say about that is it is not easy.
No.
It's not a process that you can't just do it. It doesn't, you don't just go, I'm gonna go find myself. That's not how it works, okay? Like, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. And it's like go hike the mountain. It's so symbolic, you know, like, oh please. Like, screw that. It's not, like, I don't care if you go hike a mountain in your Lane Bryant stretch pants with your matching Gucci bag. Like, it's not gonna, sorry, I'm totally pinpointing people right now, but like cut the crap.
Yeah,
cut the crap, you know? What you were, gosh. The self-discovery piece for me personally, though, was, I think it started a long, long time ago. It started when I was maybe about 10 or 12 years old. And as you come of age, right, and you come into adulthood and you're told to follow your passions, but only do it in this box, you know, and only do it with these rules, and don't do that because that's bad for you. You should do that because of whatever, right? You realize as an adult, I think when you start to have the self-discovery notion, you'll start to understand that you start to recognize first that other things, people, situations have been projecting. And I don't want to say projecting onto you because that's a victim mentality. The next thing you get to typically is you start to realize that things aren't happening to you.
Okay, that's metacognition. That's like
higher
thought process.
It is, and it's very confusing when you first realize that. You're like, wait a second, this isn't happening to me.
It's happening for me.
Right, and then you start to realize, you mean I don't have the ability to make somebody else cry or be upset or be mad? You mean, wait, and then you realize, wait, that's actually egotistical? Wait, I don't understand. Hold on, wait, hold the phone. You know, and this is not something that happened in the last 6 months, folks. This has been 5 years of hard work.
Yeah. Right.
5 years. It has taken 5 years. And there are peaks and valleys and moments that you don't know what's going to happen on the other side. But if you don't do it,
you stay stuck.
You'll stay stuck.
And the depression and the smoking weed and the drinking and then it's just a spiral that never ends. So
I know because I've done that.
Yeah. I've done it too. I used to drink a bottle of wine every night and thinking that that's the way you do it. But it's not really because you're not happy.
Yeah.
So are you really happy in the decisions that you've made and who you are right now as a leader and visionary?
I wouldn't change a darn thing because here's the thing. I realized that that there's no reason why you have to, as a leader, as somebody that is, forging this. When I was working in big advertising, I bounced between agencies. I was freelancing at the same time. I was a workaholic. I worked a lot, but the reason I could do it was, and when I started freelancing, I had a moment where I thought, you know what? I'm working in a week, not 60, 80 people maybe on a daily basis, right? And I'm going, wow. That's a lot of people that I'm like, and I have to drive the bus, and what I in that environment, I compromised. I compromised I'm very happy-go-lucky. I like to joke. People think that sometimes because I smile a lot, I make jokes, I do voices, that I'm not taking something seriously, or that I'm not engaged. And I'm here to tell you that if you stop being yourself at any point, you're not going to be the leader that you need to be. You're not going to have a strong self-awareness. You're not going to, which is a huge part of branding yourself. It's huge. Branding is not just a promise to people. You have to promise something to yourself too.
First.
We have to work on that first.
Correct.
So for businesses, for clients, just to kind of circle that in, there's work that we can do on the organizational level, which is really important to make things be able to perform. That channel has to be in alignment. But if it's personal, if you're a leader, if you're a visionary leader, you must get this in alignment totally first before you engage with your tactics.
Taking pictures and having a pretty website.
It's not enough.
It's like
you can have the best content in the world, but if it's not coming from here,
that's true.
And you're not working on yourself, the minute that you're not real with yourself in front of other people,
people can sniff that out.
Well, now they can. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's becoming more and more prevalent where people are just like, ew. See you later.
Right.
So thank you so much, my beautiful bestie.
Yes. Oh gosh.
Oh my God. In 4 months, I'm like, So share with the viewers where they can find your website, your work, and how they can connect with you so that you can help them with their branding.
You can find me at orchestra.agency. It's orchestra spelled with TRE at the end, .agency. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn. It's /Matthew Kerner. And
thank you so much for watching this first video. Stay tuned for following videos of Matt, where he's going to share with us why you need to brand yourself for your career, why you need to brand yourself for your business, and if you're a millennial or even if you're a baby boomer transitioning, how to brand yourself more effectively so that you're not extinct from your career. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.